All right, today we are diving into a really important topic, how to choose the absolute perfect wireless chipset for your Kali Linux setup. Let's jump right in. So let's get right to it. The big question on everyone's mind is, which wireless adapter should I actually be using for Kali Linux? It's a question we see all the time. Yeah, a lot of people seem to get confused when we start talking about wireless adapters and wireless cards. They don't know what they are, why we even need them, and especially how to select the right one when there are just so many out there. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle the wireless adapter problem. Then we'll get into why your built-in Wi-Fi just isn't going to cut it. After that, and this is the important part, we'll focus on the chipset. We'll compare the top two chipsets out there, and then, by the end, we'll help you make your final choice. All right, first up, the wireless adapter problem. So what exactly are these things, and why do they seem to trip everyone up? So let's start with the basics. A wireless adapter is just a device that you connect to your computer, usually through a USB port, and it allows you to communicate with other devices over Wi-Fi. It's how you connect to wireless networks. Okay, next section. Let's talk about why your laptop's built-in Wi-Fi just fails when it comes to penetration testing. There are two really critical limitations you need to know about. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, my laptop already has this. And you're right, most laptops and even most phones already had this built right in. But here's the catch. There are two big problems with those built-in adapters. First, if you're running Kali as a virtual machine, you just can't access the built-in wireless adapter. It's a no-go. And second, and this is even more important, these built-in adapters are just not good for hacking. They don't support monitor mode or packet injection, and without those, you can't do a lot of the essential stuff we need to do. So this brings us to the most important part of this whole explainer. We need to focus on the chipset. It is, without a doubt, the single most important factor you need to know. Okay, so before we start throwing around brands and model numbers, I want you to do something. For now, just forget about the brand. Instead, we're going to talk about the brains of the operation, the mind that's actually doing all the calculations inside that wireless adapter. See, the chipset is what really determines if an adapter is good or bad. It's what decides if it supports packet injection and monitor mode, and if it works with Kali. And this really says it all. The brand is irrelevant. What's used inside that adapter is what's important, and that's the chipset. Seriously, burn this into your memory. All right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to compare the top two chipsets that you'll see out there, Atheros versus Realtek. So there are a lot of chipsets that support monitor mode and packet injection. But in my opinion, the absolute best one, the gold standard, is the Atheros AR9271. This thing is a beast. It supports monitor mode, packet injection, and master mode. That means you can use it to create fake access points and do pretty much anything you can think of. Honestly, I can't think of a single attack this thing doesn't support. But, and this is a big but, it has one major limitation. It only supports the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. So if your target network is running on 5 gigahertz, well, this adapter literally cannot see that traffic. It's invisible to it. And that little problem brings us nicely to our next chipset, the Realtek 8812AU. Now, this one is a bit newer on the scene. It got proper Kali support back in 2017.1. And the big deal here is that it supports monitor mode, it supports packet injection, and it supports both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies.
So what's the catch?
Well, the problem is that its support is still pretty recent. And because of that, it just doesn't seem to be as rock solid and reliable as the Atheros one. You might find some attacks don't work as well, or maybe you'll get some weird disconnections. It's just a little less dependable. So let's just lay it all out side by side here. You've got the Atheros AR9271. It's incredibly reliable, a total workhorse, supports everything you need. But its only con is that it can't see 5 gigahertz traffic. Then you have the Realtek 8812AU. Its key pro is that it does support 5 gigahertz, but its key con is that the support is more recent, making it just a bit less reliable. Okay, so you know about the chipsets now. In this final section, let's talk about the actual adapters you can buy. We'll look at the budget versus the premium models to help you make your final choice. Let's say you decide to go with the Atheros AR9271 chipset. You basically have two paths. You can go for a budget option, an unbranded wireless adapter that just uses this chipset. It'll be cheaper. Or you can go for the alpha option, the AWS 036NH. This is a much higher quality product, better range, more reliability, the whole 9 yards. And it's pretty much the same story for the Realtek 8812AU. You can find a budget wireless adapter that's way cheaper than the Alpha one, or you can step up to the Alpha AWUS36AC. Alpha is a really good company with a great reputation, and you're just getting a stronger, better-built adapter. So, what's the real difference here between Alpha and the budget options? Well, the budget adapters are obviously much cheaper. They also tend to be smaller, more compact, which can be great if you're trying to be discreet in public. The Alpha adapters, on the other hand, you're paying for better build quality, much longer range, a stronger signal, and they're just a little bit more reliable. But here's a super important point. Compatibility-wise, the budget adapters will work just as good as the Alpha ones. Why? Because they use the exact same chips inside. They'll support all the same attacks. The only real difference is going to be that build quality and how far away you can be from your target. And that brings us right back to where we started, to the single most important idea I want you to walk away with. The most important thing is the chipset that's used inside the wireless adapter. If you remember that, you'll make the right choice. Thanks for tuning in.